Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Yeah, first of all, we're getting a reboot. And second of all, Sarah Michelle Gellar doesn't necessarily want to be a part of it. I guess there's a large push online for Sarah Michelle Gellar to be part of this new Buffy reboot. Apparently, there are some new angles and things of which this show is going to tackle. I mean, we live in a very different world now than we lived in the late 90s. It's a very different world, right? So things have changed. There are new perspectives. There are new things to be said. And sometimes it's fun to do that in some material that we've seen before and, bring the past into the present, make it relevant, say some new stuff about it. And I think that's why you do a reboot. If you're going to do a reboot or a remake, first of all, you have to improve on the original material. And second, what new is it that you're saying? Well, Sarah Michelle Gellar here in this article from Deadline has this to say about her time working on Buffy the Vampire Slayer and so on and so forth. She says, Gellar claimed she's a wee bit, how do they say, long in the tooth for that, meaning she might be a little too old to come back and play Buffy the Vampire Slayer. The monsters Buffy faced were a metaphor for the horrors of adolescence. I do think that the story lends itself to be interesting to see how a chosen one would deal with that. I don't think it's me. I don't think I should be the one doing it. She added that she's way too tired and cranky to put in that kind of work, and she loves that the story holds up and that the people are calling for a reboot. She kind of talked a little bit about the Joss Whedon situation. We're not going to get into the Joss Whedon situation, but I find it interesting that Sarah Michelle Gellar is, deciding to keep her distance from this. I mean, I don't think it's outside of the realm of impossibility, Mike, that that Sarah Michelle Gellar could play a cameo. Like how, if anyone watched Smallville, we all know that Christopher Reeve, before his passing, he popped up and played kind of a pivotal role in Smallville. So I don't think it's outside of the realm of impossibility for Sarah Michelle Gellar to pop up in this reboot and play a smaller character, or maybe an influential character, the same way that Christopher Reeve did in Smallville. But then again, I also understand her position where, that was a stage of her life, that was a part of her life, and she's kind of done with it. What's your perspective on this? Do you think it's fair for her to steer clear of it, or do you think it would be a little bit more honoring to the fans if she were to kind of pop up and play a cameo? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, whenever it comes to these situations, it's always sort of interesting for me because you always have to remember, like, these actors have lives outside of these worlds, outside of these television shows, and outside of these things. So, like, listen, if she doesn't want to do it, good for her. Like let Sarah Michelle Gellar live her life. But that being said, we kind of live in this age where, our heroes, our icons are getting recast. There's so many reboots and remakes. If you said to someone, 20, 30 years ago, like, hey, they're going to recast, Captain Kirk, they would have said absolutely not. There's one Captain Kirk. Like,
Yeah.
You're crazy. Even Han Solo and Lando Calrissian, they get recast, and it's like, no, you're out of your mind. Like, but that's the sort of world that we live in, and so, like, yeah, I could definitely see her down the line, especially if the show picks up a good viewer base, her just kind of popping in for a cameo, playing some like archaeologist or expert or expert in the occult or something. But listen, if she doesn't want to do it, that's
Now,
completely
one
in
of
her
the things
right.
that this particular news story or article or rumor or whatever it is you want to call it hints at is that there was, at least once upon a time, a very good chance that this Buffy reboot would be a continuation of Buffy's story. And I think that was kind of a reason or an impetus as to why Sarah Michelle Gellar would come back to play the titular character. But also, like I completely understand that it's not, if she doesn't want to do, if she doesn't feel like she has something to say about it, especially, the article points out she's 43 years old, she has a family, especially during COVID, she's trying to do her best to be responsible and to stay at home and keep her family safe because that's her number one priority. But, COVID aside, do you think that there are, and I understand, like, Sarah Michelle Gellar is not interested, but do you think there is a world that exists where, I don't know, maybe we could bring her back for, like, the grown-up Buffy type stuff? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's weird because, like she said, like part of the appeal of Buffy the Vampire Slayer is like, oh, here's this, young badass chick who's like fighting vampires and zombies and whatever else, demons and hellspawn, and that's sort of the appeal. But it's so hard because I think of, again, I keep coming back to like other movies and films that have kind of like come back after a
Right.
few years, and it's always so hard to see your favorite characters grow old and have
Indiana
lives. It was
Jones.
hard seeing a exactly Indiana Jones was one. I'm a huge Twin Peaks fan, so like watching the Twin Peaks return was like, look at all these like, these characters are all like, older and they have like way different lives now than they did 20 years ago or whenever. And so like, yeah, I definitely think they could do it, but I would hope what they, and obviously this seems like what would happen is sort of like a passing down of the torch
Right.
to a new younger generation because I think it's good to have new blood and to create new ideas and new characters and sort of pass these things on to a new generation. It's something I always say about the Star Wars sequels, but maybe those movies weren't made for you. It's for a new generation. It's for the young people now who are seeing this for the first time and being like, yeah, I want to be those characters. I want to be these new
Great
characters.
points.
And so yeah, and so that's what interests me. I want to see new young blood in the
Great
series.
points. Question for you guys is, first and foremost, what do you think of the Buffy the Vampire Slayer reboot? Do you think that we're missing out on not getting Sarah Michelle Gellar back? Are you glad she's not coming back? What would you like to see from the reboot? Where do you think it's going to go? Jump on down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, click like. If you really like this video, click subscribe. And if you really, really like this video, click share. Because that is exactly what the mighty Thor would want you to do. For Asgard!